Welcome back to Open BXRx. Black women have historically had the highest maternal mortality rates in the United States. And while researchers from the CDC and National Center for Health Statistics do not have a clear explanation, they suspect a combination of institutional racism in society and the healthcare system. Black women are also less likely to have access to quality prenatal care. A collective of Bronx-based Black birth workers seeks to build solutions that protect and honor birthing people in the Bronx and their families. Joining us now are co-founders of BX Rebirth, Nicole Jean-Baptiste, Evelyn Alvarez, and Carmen Mojica. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Sonyi.
Of course. The first thing I want to start off with is, of course, learning about the platform, BX Rebirth. Can you give me a little background?
Yes, hi. So my name is Carmen. Really, long story short, we saw that there was a necessity in the Bronx around moms and families that were going without their essential needs like diapers, wipes, formula because of the lockdown. And so we first came together around that, but then we had realized very quickly that we had been working together towards similar goals around supporting families in birth and pregnancy and the postpartum. And so we thought everything just kind of coalesced for this to be the perfect time for us to become a collective, to be able to provide doula support or connect people to doulas, to be able to just start to work very intensely on maternal mortality and morbidity issues, and as well as health for Black mothers and also for other people of color.
Thank you, Carmen. Can you all tell me just a little bit about Black maternal mortality and how and why it disproportionately affects so many Black birthing people and babies, as to, depending on your research or whatever you can give us, and a little bit of insight on that?
Well, the reason why it affects Black people disproportionately is just racism and weathering. So a combination of the racism that has been institutionalized through the medical system, through housing, public assistance, all the different systems that have that contribute to our well-being, and all the gatekeepers. And so what happens is that because of the beliefs that come with racism towards Black people, when it comes to maternal health, we are not listened to, we're not believed. People don't believe that we feel pain the same way. This list goes on. The other part is that because of racism and the conditions of this country, Black people specifically, our bodies are weathered, which means that we live an entire lifetime of stress and all of the things that come with that, poor access to food and nutritious food, not enough access to culturally sensitive healthcare. And so by the time we end up becoming pregnant, or we end up having any other reproductive needs, all of the things that we've gone through our body also show up, right? And so already our bodies don't have the opportunity to show up in the ability to withstand pregnancy. Like we think that pregnancy is just this thing that happens and then you give birth, but it can all actually be very stressful on a body has not been nourished and has been going under a lot of duress and stress in the United States of America.
Right, BX Rebirth is doing this work in the Bronx in particular, a place that has already been impacted by other health outcomes and food insecurity as well. Just talk to me a little bit about the effects of this, as well as the impact of mortality rates when it comes to Bronx mothers in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we know as people who have either been living in the Bronx for a sustained period of time or have been born and raised here, like myself, is that we have often felt like the forgotten borough, right? And that happens even with maternal health care. So many people have looked at Brooklyn and, central Brooklyn as the hotspot for maternal mortality and morbidity, when the Bronx is not too far behind Brooklyn. If you look at, I don't have the statistics in front of me right now, but the same is true for infant mortality as well, and morbidity, right? So the fact that people are going into hospitals, planning to have their babies in the Bronx, and sometimes not making it out alive, or within a year, or many times less than that, they're not surviving. They're not alive to see their baby's first birthday. And in a lot of cases, the baby's not surviving and thriving up until their first birthday. So I think this points to just a conglomeration of things. We in the Bronx, we are the nation's poorest congressional district, right? What is poverty? What is it linked to? It's linked to food deserts. It's linked to lack of access to quality care. And all of these things are intertwined. And Carmen spoke really well to the fact that racism, by and large, is the reason why Black people are dying at 8 to 12 times the rate as white people in New York City, 4 to 5 times the rate as white people in the country. So I would say what we see and feel in the Bronx is a really prime example of what's happening on a national scale. You know, you have this space where the majority of folks who inhabit it are Black folks and folks of color. And there's this huge crisis, yet it feels like it's not being addressed appropriately. How does that happen? Why is that happening? How has it been allowed to go on for so long?
Right. And can we also discuss the young Black woman from the Bronx, Amber Rose Isaac, who died during childbirth? I believe it was at Montefiore Hospital.
Right.
Can you tell us more about her case and what happened there?
Yeah, sure. And you know, Evelyn can speak to this as well. She and I were featured in the article in The City, which spotlighted her case, I think, first. And what happened with Amber was, sadly, you know, many of the details were just so familiar, you know, and those included some of which Carmen mentioned already. Stating to your provider that, hey, I don't think something's right, something feels wrong, or I'm pretty sure I need to come in today. You know, a series of those incidents is what was occurring with Amber. And on top of that, to exacerbate things, you had COVID-19, a situation that really allowed for dismissal. You know, many providers were turning to telehealth. However, for someone like Amber, who was diagnosed with HELP syndrome, that is not a viable way to be treating someone. And her partner, Bruce McIntyre, who's still living, he can speak to you know, the care that was not received and that they had expected to receive. By and large, what they were relaying was that they felt as though the providers that they were coming in contact with were incompetent. And I think that's a really sad commentary for someone who is preparing to bring in new life and who's looking forward to, you know, this event.
Right, and as those of us who are familiar with the case know, Amber actually tweeted about it a couple of days before her death. So that was just, it was a sad, you know, case all in all. And I feel like this is a conversation that people really don't have enough. The fact that Black mortality rates are as high as they are and have been as high as they are, and research still doesn't even tell us why, you know. But I also want to talk about how BX Rebirth has been helping Black mothers through COVID-19 with all the actions that you've taken and the donations that you're gathering and also giving into the community. Evelyn, can you talk about that, please?
Sure. We're really, we're really grateful that we've had a large number of donations, and people have been very generous to be able to enable us to turn this product to the community. So as of now, I think we're close to like 100 families that we've been able to donate diapers to in less than a month, right? And shout out to our volunteers that have taken their time and utilized their own resources to be able to donate. We're also right now in talks of really establishing a doula collective in the Bronx that will enable us to also be able to support families and to give them some of the information that they need to feel more empowered when they go into hospital spaces, and also answering questions. Carmen is a midwife. All three of us are doulas. And so we really come from that perspective of really being able to support our community in being able to not just receive access to diapers and clothing and formula, but also thinking about what are the things that we can really impact. So right now we're thinking about activism. We're acting on that. We're supporting agencies that are doing some of this work. We're doing direct donation to people. We are collecting and we're collaborating with other upcoming spaces in the borough that also get to support the belief that we have that people should have birthing options in the Bronx, and that we have to support parents as is, right? Which I think is a really important thing, that also racism and white supremacy and all those other good things act in ways that we have to think that we don't deserve it, or that we have to be optimal Black people in order to receive support. And I think that one of the things is like, you deserve support because you are.
Thank you so much. If anyone else wanted to chime in before we go, just with a few last words before I ask also about how to get connected with BX Rebirth and all that good stuff. If you wanted to just give a couple more words on just, supporting the community and being there for the community during this time.
Yeah, well, one of our long-term visions is to establish more than one birth center in the borough. And very soon we'll be working on manifesting that vision.
Well, best of luck, and thank you all for your time today. Just before we go, how can people get connected with BX Rebirth, whether they're mothers and families in need or would like to donate?
They can check out our website, bxrebirth.org. We're also on Instagram, so lots of information. They can also email us at bxrebirth@gmail.com.
Thank you all again for your time. Take care and be well.
Thank
you.
Folks, again, BX Rebirth is currently accepting donations and directly aiding Bronx moms in need. To support and follow, you can visit them at BX Rebirth on Instagram and visit bxrebirth.org for more information. That's all for our show today. Thank you for tuning into BXRx. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and your family safety and wellness now and always. Until next time.